Sergey Lavrov calls Marco Rubio to tell him to evacuate US officials from Kyiv because there will be a big Russian attack on the capital. Ukrainian foreign minister calls this Russian blackmail, and European officials say that they will not evacuate the city. The exiled opposition leader of Belarus goes to Kyiv in her first ever visit to Ukraine, meeting with the Ukrainian foreign minister, and more news of the region. I'm Sophia Marie. Let's get into it. Hi guys, I'm Sophia. I'm a graduate of Georgetown and Oxford. Make sure to like, follow, and repost. I do this content daily. So today, firstly, Sergey Lavrov called US Secretary of State Marco Rubio to tell him to evacuate US officers from, quote, decision-making centers in the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv. Now, in continuation from the attacks that happened on Ukraine over the past weekend, Russia has threatened, quote, systematic strikes on Kyiv, and this is done in retaliation to what Russia claims was a Ukrainian attack on a student dormitory in Russian-occupied Ukraine. So in a statement, the Russian Foreign Ministry today criticized what it called the, quote, Zelensky junta and its Western sponsors for violating international law, talking about, again, that alleged attack Russia says Ukraine launched on a student dormitory. Now, Ukraine denies that it attacked a school, saying it struck an elite drone command unit. So Russian Foreign Ministry today said they'll be launching strikes on Ukrainian military-industrial complex facilities in Kyiv and also decision-making centers and command posts. Now, the Ukrainian foreign minister has come out and said that US and European officials should not give in to this Russian propaganda, not to give in to this Russian blackmail, which he says is aimed at, quote, intimidating the international community. So far, the head of the EU mission in Kyiv said in a statement, quote, Russia wants fear, panic, isolation of Ukraine. It will not work. The EU is not going anywhere. We are staying in Kyiv. We are staying with Ukraine. Now, in other news, today, the exiled opposition leader of Belarus, Tsikhanouskaya, arrived in Kyiv for her first ever visit to Ukraine. Her advisor posted to X, quote, this visit is a symbol of solidarity between Belarusian and Ukrainian people in our common struggle for freedom and dignity. So she met with Ukrainian foreign minister, and in a joint press talk, she iterated that it was very important for Ukraine to see a, quote, future partner and neighbor in a free Belarus rather than a threat. She continued that, quote, only a free, democratic Belarus will become a factor of stability and security in the region rather than an instrument of the Kremlin's aggressive policy. She said that we need more, quote, mutual trust, more contact between people, experts, society, and democratic institutions. Now, in this joint press talk with the Ukrainian foreign minister, the exiled Belarusian opposition leader blamed Russian President Vladimir Putin and Belarusian leader Lukashenko as doing, quote, everything to destroy the friendly relations between the Belarusian and the Ukrainian people. Now, for his part, the Ukrainian foreign minister made sure to state that, quote, Ukraine consistently distinguishes between the regime that dragged Belarus into Russian aggression and the Belarusian people. He continued, quote, to this day, around 1,000 Belarusians remain in prison for their civic stance, and many have been forced to leave the country due to repression. We see your resistance and your position. Now, as I've reported on before, recently Zelensky has accused Russia of trying to drag Belarus into a war with Ukraine, strikes on northern Ukraine, or even strikes on a NATO member state. Lukashenko came out when asked about this by reporters and dismissed this stance by Ukraine, saying Belarus would only get involved if Ukraine, infringed on Belarusian territory. That's it for news today. Make sure to like and follow. I'll be back here tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day.